Well, welcome back to Light the Fuse, the only Mission Impossible podcast.
With its own piece of music?
Yeah. Original score by Kevin Blumenfeld.
Yes. Original score that is legally dissimilar from the Mission Impossible theme.
Yes. I mean, listen, we're not going to...
We hope.
Yeah, we're not going to poke the bear, but should Paramount want to go after him?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Kevin's ready. He's got a great legal team.
He does. He's got an all-star team of, impressive Hollywood lawyers, and he's ready to defend himself.
He's a big shot.
He is.
He's ready to poke the bear. I think.
He is. He just had a child, and he doesn't have a lot going on, so I think this would...
Right. Congratulations to Kevin for having his child.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can support this child now without being sued by Paramount.
Yeah. Should he be penniless and homeless after this lawsuit?
So be it.
So be it. He'll figure something out. The child will be fine. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Don't worry about it.
But once again,
his wife will leave with the child. She'll make it work.
She'll be fine. Yes. Yeah. We're not saying don't go after her, but go after Kevin.
I'm so sorry, Kevin. I'm so sorry. I love you, Kevin. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough love, but
yes.
Yeah. So once again, welcome to Light the Fuse. This is obviously Drew Taylor, joined by Charles Hood.
Hello.
And we've got a really great episode for you this week with the guys from Filmograph.
Yes.
Seth and Aaron, who did an amazing title sequence for Rogue Nation and Fallout.
And the curtain calls.
Which
they are the only people to do those.
Yes.
Which we talked to them about. But they've also done a lot of big movies recently.
Yeah.
They did Aquaman.
Yep.
They did Get Out. They did both Split and Glass.
Right.
Which have great title sequences.
Yeah.
The closing title sequence in Glass is really cool.
Yeah.
And they did The Conjuring, which is one of my favorite.
Great title sequence.
The title sequence at the beginning and the end. I love The Conjuring.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of that first
They did
movie.
both
The second movie is great too, but I love the first one.
Yeah.
And they did both Conjurings.
Yeah. They're great.
Yeah, they did John Wick 2.
Both John Wicks. They did Ouija Origin of Evil, which I'm a big fan of. As you know, I'm a big fan of the title card.
For Ouija? I never saw it.
Yeah, it's great. You should watch it. And these guys know their stuff. They are huge Mission Impossible fans. They really did their homework and watched the movies before they talked to us.
It was a pleasure.
So the first episode, what do we get into?
We talk about a lot of stuff.
Okay. All right.
We just let it. Let's just let it go.
Okay, let's let it go. You guys enjoy, and we'll be back afterwards. So on this very special episode of Light the Fuse, we're so thrilled to be here at the Filmograph offices. Guys, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, this is Aaron Becker, creative director here at Filmograph.
Hi, Seth Kleinberg, executive producer and co-owner with Aaron, who didn't say he was a co-owner.
I don't like saying that.
Too many labels.
The creative director is more important.
He is absolutely the creative force behind Filmograph, no question there.
That's right.
So you guys have the unique distinction, along with your former boss Kyle Cooper, of doing two different sequences and the only people to do curtain calls.
That's correct.
For movies.
That's correct.
How did you first get involved with Rogue Nation, and take us through that.
Well, the pitch, which I think was early 2015.
Taurus.
Taurus.
Yeah.
The code name.
The code name, right?
That's the code name for Rogue Nation.
Yeah,
I guess so.
Up to you.
No, I think that's on IMDb.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Well, that was a friend of ours, Ben Rosenblatt, one of the co-producers on the film, I believe, right? Or was he associate producer? He was with JJ for a while at Bad Robot, and he called us in with two other companies, and he said that, everyone had a dark horse, and that at the time we were his, so we were just giving it our all.
So we went to Bad Robot. Yeah. We saw a really, really rough cut.
Yep.
Where there was almost no underwater scene at the end. I think at that point it was all animatic and storyboarded out, and they were shooting that, I think, while we were pitching on the title sequence.
And I remember that the scariest prerequisite was, if you get this job, you only have 6 weeks to finish it.
Wow.
Okay.
And you were like,
so
yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And then that was before.
Well, that
Chris
was only
said
that was yeah. Then it was
he wanted two sequences.
Yeah.
That was before Chris said that.
Well, the way he told the story made it sound like, I don't remember where we heard this, that you pitched him two different ones.
Yeah.
And then he said, let's do both.
But yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
I think that was more Fallout than anything else.
No, it was both.
No, because two main titles for the curtain call.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there was something very unique about Fallout and two sequences. But yeah, for Rogue Nation, we showed many concepts. And yeah, he picked two, and he's like, we should just do a reprisal at the end. We'll call it a curtain call.
That's right.
And that's sort of where was the
Because it's
idea
not a total
formed.
main. It's not a main on end.
No.
Because it's like it's basically the same information that you get out at the
Well,
beginning.
it has no legal.
Well, it's just
it
the
has
actors,
it has
right?
no legal requirements, which is beautiful.
Right.
So they can
okay.
move. They can be big.
That's right.
They don't have to have size relationships.
And,
Yeah.
and you can put them in any order you want? Is that
He
as
was
well?
open to that, I think, but I
Yeah.
mean, he knew that he wanted to end on Tom.
Yeah.
Right.
So
well, I guess that's sort
Because
of
it ends with him on the side of the plane, right?
well, that's sort of
which
the
is like
rule
the
of
best.
the rule of the curtain
Exactly.
call is if you were. Tom has a special flourish at the end of the curtain call.
Yes.
So like the plane was like the big shot.
Oh, right, and then it's the halo jump.
And then it's the
Fallout.
halo jump going into the title card.
yeah, exactly. And I just remember that when we did show him both, we had I think 2 or 3 ideas, and when he said he wanted to do 2 of them, it was pretty surprising, but we were also really excited because we didn't understand if he meant breaking it up into an opening sequence and an end sequence that would be legally, a contractual thing. But he actually meant like more like an old school curtain call, like you guys were talking about for the end, where, as Seth said, the rules were much more open-ended, which allowed us to do something really creative and also allowed us to kind of have like the old school nod to the, the television show, which was like a big part of.
We watched a lot of the television show.
Yeah.
We wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah.
What did you watch of the old show, and how did that inform what you were doing?
We watched a couple episodes, but honestly, it was more about the like what they were doing graphically in the sequence, and figuring out, okay, if those same people were doing that idea now,
Right.
what technology, what's changed in terms of the technology, but how can we also keep it classic enough, looking classic enough that however many years from now, that design approach will still hold weight conceptually. And obviously the through line being the fuse was so fun to figure out a new way to do it. When it's already been done 4 times, it's sort of like we joked about it being like, we've worked on awards packages and stuff like that for the Oscars and things like that. And it's like, how many times can you see,
Gold statue spinning?
how many times can you see the gold statue spinning in a new way?
Right.
Well, I think that's actually an interesting challenge because you have to keep figuring out a new way to use the same thing. You have to figure out a new way to use the fuse and to tell a new story. And that's what's always interested us the most, I think. Like, we thrive on those rules, I think, like, because we want it to live on. We want it to be something that is memorable, but also that hadn't been seen in the first 4.
Right.
But yeah.
But I think I mean it's fair to say that Rogue Nation absolutely was inspired by Mission 1's title sequence. Also, the pace of the
opening
the
sequence.
pace of the edit, we wanted to be faster than that edit, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful sequence. So
Absolutely.
Well, and Eddie
we
told
absolutely love it still.
Yeah, it's amazing. But Eddie said that McQuarrie was the one who put the black dossier
That is true.
down.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Eddie and him,
in
yeah.
Rogue
Yeah.
Nation.
And I heard you guys- and I heard you
we
guys say
spliced
that.
it in
Yeah.
at the last minute. I
It's
mean,
so good.
love that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Such a
like
great nod
for
to the
all
old
of these
show. It
sequences. Okay, so the other rule that is just sort of like what we call the pre-cap, which is, revisiting the entire film before you've even seen the film. Well, none of those visual effects shots are done, and the movie's almost entirely visual effects. So we're always using temp material up until the very last minute and waiting on the visual effects vendors. I mean, by
Screen replacements.
Yeah, screen replacements. Shots that just weren't finished, like
Wires.
that helicopter going into the snow wasn't finished for quite some
Fallout.
time for Fallout.
Well, I also the dossier thing is a great symbol of, I think, McQuarrie's approach, which we love so much, which is how do we honor like this
past,
legacy,
yeah.
but keep kind of making it new, keep making it fresh. And I think the last 2 films, he's proven that he's really extremely capable of doing it. And with Eddie, obviously, like they're the craziest duo that we've ever worked with, I think,
Yeah.
director, editor wise. And so I think we're trying to figure out, each time along with them, there's sort of this classicism. Like the thing that's so cool about the Rogue Nation movie in general is all the Hitchcockian sequences, the way that he's composing things. I love Rogue Nation. It's actually one of my favorites. It might be tied for me for my favorite, like 1 and 5.
Well, we'll ask about
We'll
your
get-
rankings in a bit.
We'll get into that, but the reason why I'm even saying that is just to show my enthusiasm for how he sort of works in older ideas, and even the plane set piece in general for me feels so North by Northwest,
Right.
And the way that they used it in the marketing, the way that he was composed, it's like it feels fresh, but at the same time it feels a little bit familiar. But the familiarity that you're feeling is like this beautiful. It's this one that's classic. It like already feels classic because he's like making these references, even if some of them are subconscious for me. They're references that we strive to create in the sequences that we're working on too.
Well, you talked about the moments from later in the film. Were there any kind of like guardrails for that? How did you choose those moments? We saw on Twitter the other day people who were saying that they closed their eyes during the sequence because they don't want to be
That's
spoiled.
interesting.
Yeah,
they
we were
don't want
like
spoilers.
what?
I'm just like, that's so carefully crafted, these sequences.
Yeah.
They're obviously not going to put things in there that they don't want you to see.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's absolutely true.
So watch the sequence.
Yeah.
It's
Such
part
an
of Mission
important point.
Impossible.
Yeah,
That is
I don't
such
think
an
we
important point.
would never breach the audience's trust.
No, that's such an important point. And like, there were a couple times where we did have to
Dial it back.
We had to
And
dial
Rogue
it
Nation
back.
certainly, I think, yeah.
And I can't
Did
remember.
McCory ask you to
Yeah.
take something out? 'Cause
Yeah,
he said
yeah.
this is a little
Well, it's
too
totally
much.
collaborative. I mean, even though we have this amazing editor that we work with named Nate Park, and he's been on both films.
He has. He's incredible. And
Cut-
we actually
cut the open for both.
we want to introduce you to him because we thought about inviting him, but we thought it would be a little bit too crowded today.
yeah.
But
Shout out to Nate Park.
shout out to Nate Park, who soldiered through a personal loss during Rogue Nation as well, which I'm not going to mention specifically, but he kind of transcended that and really created something that we are so proud of to have worked with him on. And Eddie has a great rapport with him too now.
Yeah.
Even though Seth and I do a lot of the talking on the Skype calls because of, as you know, the productions are so London, LA dependent, and we'll get on the phone and or we'll get on the video chat and we'll just talk once a week pretty much.
And I would say on Rogue Nation, we didn't really leave the office for 6 weeks.
Yeah, that was a little different. The schedule was so much more compressed on Rogue Nation.
Well, cutting 6 months out of your post schedule, I'm sure we'll do that to you. Yeah,
It was pretty scary,
Yeah.
but it was a good rule. It's another good rule to have. It's like, okay, well, we don't have a choice. How special can we make it?
Yeah, but you'd also think like the ankle break would help the title sequence. And
Yeah.
Oh, for Fallout.
For Fallout, it did.
It actually did.
Well, no, but I mean, it added more. It added
his
more
ankle
time.
his ankle is breaking in the sequence.
Well, that's all right. But what I'm saying is, like, it didn't give us a lot more time. We thought, like, I was like talking to the post supervisor, like, oh, we got a lot more time now. Like,
Oh yeah.
no.
But isn't it interesting how the filmmakers on the whole, we know that it did benefit them.
It definitely helped them.
And I know you guys have talked to Eddie or Chris about that. I can't remember which
I think both
interview
of
that
them
was.
talked about it.
But I loved that. And that mantra, by the way, it wasn't just like a personal hidden thing that they didn't talk about. That they made sure to like disseminate that to everyone that they were working with. And it wasn't like, hey, we want to keep you working for free for X amount of months. It was like, no, we're just going to let you guys know we're still confident in what we're doing, and we're going to use this to our advantage, and we're going to make some changes, and we're going to make this thing even better than it would have been, with this new time that we have, which is, it's a gift and a curse, but it's like a blessing in disguise, as I'm sure they mentioned to you.
Yeah, I mean, few movies have that luxury of sort of hitting pause and kind of rejiggering things appropriately.
Absolutely.
The Fallout title sequence is really interesting because of the fire.
Oh, yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Because the tradition is that there's light the match, and then there's a fuse that goes through the whole sequence. And now you guys, I don't know whose idea that was.
There is a fuse in Fallout at the end.
I love that fuse
in the curtain call.
Yeah.
No, it's a very subtle.
The fuse is when he falls to the bag.
There's one very
so
small moment, and we. You're absolutely right though. The bigger point is that
because it's the
injection. It wasn't about.
It's whatever initiates like the feeling, and they always said that like when he injects the neck into
the Swedish guy.
The amazing
Delbrook's character. Yes, exactly.
The amazing Delbrook.
Niels Delbrook.
Yeah, he's awesome. No, but you're right though. The bigger point I think is that it's not as prevalent at all. Like you almost don't notice it. And,
I love that it's a fire now instead of a fuse.
Yeah.
I just think it's it just works thematically with the whole movie. It's really great.
It's a contemporary. It's the next iteration, right? And the other
we
the
talked
other great
about
thing
like
about
the film burning itself.
And,
cool.
But the nuclear side of it was that like when we showed the idea, it was about how do we create like a new graphic idea that isn't just the fuse coming through into the frame. Like we've seen what they did in Ghost Protocol, where it's wrapping through all the scenes, it's going down the tunnel. It was interesting. It was a very cool experiment, and it felt very Brad Bird in that amazing way, like that playful kind of like, it just felt like an animated film come to life in a really playful way. 5 was a little bit of a darker tone with Rogue Nation, and he really embraced that with the speed of our edit. But then when we got to 6, he wanted it to be really dark, as I'm sure he told you at the beginning. I was.
Well, when
we just rewatched.
we saw an assembly cut of it before we had a title sequence,
right?
And we saw the scene with the Wolf Blitzer moment, and like we were totally like, oh wow, this movie is gonna be really dark,
right?
And then the go thing happens, but it's like the fact that was the impetus for the title sequence right at that.
When Eddie's point on one of your interviews about like how they needed that uplifting moment to bring you back to the title sequence because they want to give the audience the joyful ride of I know it's been this dark. You saw Tom Cruise disintegrate from a nuclear thing, like it was a dream. And we watched that earlier this week, and we were like, I can't believe it's like I thought about it. I was like,
it's almost like a Terminator 2 moment, where it's like
I can't believe they actually took it to that point
where they burn his face off.
Right, right. It was so, and then you know something's not right. But that darkness that they start with led to us coming up with ideas that were very much about the nuclear thing. And how can we make it feel graphic like a fuse, but be more violent? Which is where a lot of those compositional ideas came in. And yeah, he gravitated toward it because it was like the film on fire. It was like setting the film on fire, setting the world on fire, setting Paris on fire, getting as much violence out of the way early on so that he could, I think, slowly steer us back to the light by the end of the film.
And so the fuse the match, it's like a match head on the payload, right? But as he's falling,
yes, exactly.
I wrote that down.
The compositional.
Yeah.
And credit. That was a conversation with our editor Nate, and he did a great job. Like I was like, we need something compositional there because it's super circular.
Yeah.
And we need like a match cut kind of idea there that feels. But it was more of an animated transition fade kind of thing.
So great.
Thank you so much.
So was the curtain call for Fallout another proposal for the opening?
Well, you nailed it.
Okay.
And that made it a lot more complex in scope and
it was
time and.
It was,
and
but
that one's like a tack board, right?
Yeah, it's sort of like going.
So the fuse.
I think Eddie calls it a notice board.
Is it? Oh my god, that's hilarious.
On your podcast, Eddie called it a notice board. And there would always be like these things like, what does that mean? Or like,
no, it's true.
Yeah.
Eddie just classes up this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god,
he's the best.
And I think his like we're trying to like kind of get some of that enthusiasm in here. It's contagious, especially on the job. But he's he's amazing to work with. But you're right, like that was I actually initially wanted to do a title sequence that was more practical, like the first one, with the thread. And when we realized that they wanted to use it for the curtain call, we realized that it wasn't really feasible to do it practically.
So you want to actually film a thread on fire or some fuse going sparking
because
from tack to tack.
And I wanted that to be at the beginning of the movie. And I wouldn't even have done that thread thing, which we've seen so much in movies, if I hadn't seen that Tom had done it in a prior film. Yeah. I think in 5 he had a wall
in Cuba or Paris or wherever he is.
Yes.
Or where he wasn't.
Where he wasn't. Yeah.
And so like that was important to me that like I don't take it out of the genre, or that we don't take it out of the genre entirely. I wanted to like be referential. So the fact that actually could exist, that where there's all this newspaper articles and like coverage that the IMF is doing, was very interesting to me, and I felt like we could put a lot of Easter eggs in there, even if it was at the beginning. And I thought, oh my god, how amazing would this be if we figured out a way to practically light this thing on fire and follow it along the board, because we had also come off a different film with a pyrotechnics guy that we were talking about.
He did Jaws
recently, and I just thought he did some stuff on Jaws. This pyrotechnics guy that we worked with, and he worked with us on a film called Wish Upon, and I thought it would be really cool and that we could figure out a way to do it. But once we knew it was a curtain call and that you had to feature the actors prominently and that we needed to be able to swap out clips really easily, it would have been very hard to use footage.
Right.
To do
but to your point, Charles, like the way we presented the book, it was divided in two. It was like, here are the main title concepts, and here are the curtain call concepts, because we knew they wanted to do a curtain call again. And, you have to sort of have a balance between budget and complexity. Mm-hmm. And the main title ideas were much more complex than the curtain call ideas.
Right.
And then McHugh picked two main title concepts and put one of the main title concepts into the curtain call.
I mean,
God bless.
But you guys have contributed to the franchise in a really profound way, because there had never been a curtain call before, and now it's part of it.
Probably sounds like a rule going forward.
Yeah.
I think it will.
Yeah.
I know, we do feel lucky about that. I think that was, credit to him. I thought it was really daunting on Rogue Nation. Like I said, with the schedule, I was like, the two sequences scared us a little, even though they're only a minute long. It's really months of work, you know. Each of them are a minute long. I'm saying about, you know, it's months of work, and I was a little nervous, but I knew that we could figure it out if we figured, you know, the difference between Fallout's curtain call, which is CG, very CG looking, very like you're following along a somewhat realistic looking board. Right. In 5, we knew that we couldn't do something like that with the time we had, which again is a perfect example of how restraint can help you. We wanted to do a Saul Bass style sequence that felt very graphic, alluded to the show,
right,
and was also somehow updated. And so instead of just...
And had a technological look by making it black and white footage and having the scan lines, it sort of had a more future evolved.
Yeah,
look.
that's nice too, having it black and white and having the fuse be the red.
That's right.
Exactly.
You know,
it's just a simple accent, and the fuse no longer just goes left to right like it does in the television show.
Yeah.
It actually has a little bit of dimensionality, but
Yeah,
it's still graphic.
Things and
It's still a graphic dimensionality. It's not like trying to say like, look how realistic this fuse is.
Yeah.
It's serving a different purpose, a different storytelling purpose by outlining the contours of things that we had seen throughout the film, and kind of really, really bringing out those key iconic moments in a new way.
Right. We want to know what your philosophy on how much sparks should be in the title sequence. 2 very spark heavy, but not spark overwhelming sequences.
That's an amazing idea.
Because we always talk about
spark methodology.
Yeah.
Well, I think
3 is almost all spark.
3 is real sparky.
Yeah, 3 is pretty sparky.
So I was gonna say, are you asking because of 3?
Well,
That's what I was
3
gonna-
is
it
a
was-
very controversial one because it's almost just the match, you know,
And then,
going
and
forever.
there's no title sequence.
There's no title
I mean,
sequence.
really, like
It's just, I think it just says Tom Cruise.
yeah.
The cast is there, but maybe.
But it's very quick, and then it just goes right into the engagement party. Like, I mean, it's really you guys, and then Kyle Cooper did the 1st and 4th movie, and that's it. It's who have done the title sequences, because 2 and 3 just really don't have title sequences very much.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it exactly like that, but it is funny.
It's not like the Saturday Night Live 10 hosts club or whatever. But I mean,
It's our version.
Can we also we should have to shout out to Paul Hirsch. 2 edits, right?
Oh yeah.
So you have Eddie on double edits, Paul on double
Hirsch.
edits,
yeah.
Kyle on 2 title sequences, us on 2 title sequences,
Yeah.
McHugh on 4 movies.
and Robert
and
on 2.
Robert Elswit on 2.
Yeah.
That's true.
Who we have our interview coming out soon with Robert Elswit.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude.
Well,
He
by
drops
this
a lot of
by the
knowledge.
time this is heard,
We have heard it already?
it will,
Yeah, you will have heard
I've
it.
already listened to this.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So how much is too much spark?
That's a great.
You're on the sparks.
Oh no, I love that idea, but I think I the memorable 2 and 3 are not as memorable to me, but that's just because I don't know what politics were at play.
Yeah.
Like I really don't know what was going on in their review.
Not a lot of people like 2 anything, right?
That's true. That's true. But
Two
You know
ends
who
up-
loves 2 is Lauren.
Okay, that's fine, but
Yes.
2 is sort of at the bottom of
It's the-
everyone's
yeah,
list.
I
it's
think,
the
I think they
underdog.
were still trying to figure out how to make these movies. I think I
Yeah.
think Ghost Protocol was really the one where they really got into a groove
I think so. And
of what the sort of the rules are or traditions
Yes.
that they need to.
And you guys
uphold.
worked with Kyle, so did you go like?
Yeah.
What are things to stay away from? Like,
no, I think the Kyle thing's an important part of our foundation. I mean, we definitely had an amazing time working at his company Prologue, and we learned so much together. That's where I met Seth, and
we were even like in an office trapped together.
Yeah, we were in a very small space trying to do something creative. It's just hard to do, but they actually taught us a lot. Kyle taught us a lot, and I think.
Well, I mean, I was a fan of Mission 1's title sequence before I even met Kyle. Because
That's the
such
thing.
an amazing
That's the thing.
And the funny thing is before I even met Kyle, it's like you could like list movies. Oh, I remember that movie's title sequence. Who did it? Kyle did it.
Yep.
Right.
Oh yeah, Donnie Brasco. Kyle did it. It's
exactly.
like.
And I think with our first experience on Mission, I don't remember.
Rogue, yeah.
I don't remember who we were pitching against exactly, but when we found out that Chris, we didn't get the official word that we were on it, but we got a call from our friend Ben Rosenblatt at Bad Robot, and he said things are looking good. It sounds like a mission line.
Yeah, right.
It sounds like a mission line.
From
You
things
are
are
the
looking
story.
good. It was like, can you get on the phone with McHugh?
Oh, yeah.
And then it was like,
There
are we?
was-
No one ever said we were hired.
There was like, can you get on the phone? Yeah, and it was just like, wait, is this actually happening? And he's like, look, just take the call.
And I mean, I guess another point is the majority of pitches, like production companies who pitch often pitch pro bono, and so you have to really
that's true.
balance your resources, and sometimes you're presenting like just storyboards, a storyboard PDF to try to win them over on the fact that your concept is the strongest. And right out of the gate, Ben told us before we pitched, every concept you have to show is in motion. And so that added another level.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. I forgot to tell you guys about that, and that was a really important part of this, because if you know how I mentioned the 6 week, you only have 6 weeks to do it. Well, that prerequisite and the request to have motion only was because there was no time to play games. There was no time to like look at
a perfect storyboard that could never get executed.
Yeah, it didn't matter if you had an amazing looking storyboard that was beautiful. Unless you could actually prove that you could do something at that stage.
It had to be a production ready asset.
So we started like kind of brainstorming, and we knew one thing was for sure, that we wanted to do a really good edit, and that was where Nate Park came in, our longtime collaborator.
First phone call, probably.
Yeah, exactly. So while he was editing, I was working on the graphic design concept that became the curtain call for Rogue Nation, and so it was. That's really it. I mean, it happened.
Also, another talented editor helped Nate too. His name's James Long.
Yeah, Jimmy Long.
Yeah.
James Long. Yeah. Right. Jimmy Long, absolutely. But I forgot the question. What was the question?
Sparks.
We're
avoiding the sparks.
I think you're
Kyle.
I think
Kyle Cooper. Yeah.
So I think you also answered your question by asking it, which is that 3 is sparky as hell.
Yeah.
It's too sparky.
What's 2?
It looks
sort of like...
2 like a kind of glacial kind of...
And isn't there like a weird like emblazoned eagle through a glass or something like that?
Well, it's the chimera and the...
it's Greek mythology images.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a translucent kind of almost...
Yeah, Garson did that.
Yeah.
One. Yep.
Yeah, I thought like the idea of doing, some kind of magnification thing. And again, Garson has a lot more years on us and worked closely with Kyle, as I'm sure you guys heard from one of your... I think I heard you guys mention something like that.
I think in our title sequences episode.
Yes, you said something about how they worked together.
Right before Prologue was founded, Kyle was working at UCO with Garson in tandem.
Okay. Yeah, and and I don't remember exactly what year 2 was.
2 is 2000.
2 was 2000. Okay, so I liked parts of that idea, but I think the problem for us is always like, how well is the CG going to hold up for what you're doing? That's a big question for us.
How is it going to be perceived 10, 20 years from now?
Yeah, which is why we tend to lean toward like getting the concept right first, and then if it's a practical solution where we're photographing something, or we're doing like the Saul Bass style thing that we did at the end of Rogue Nation, it's curtain call. But I think the sparkiness that you were asking about of 3 is a bit much. I mean, but again, the good news for them is that it's mostly live action.
Yeah.
So even though it is like too sparky, in my opinion, it's a little too like
it's like a
Busby Berkeley kind of like haha like this thing's gonna be crazy.
Picture Mill did 3, right?
Yeah. But I mean, the good news is that it'll
stand up.
It's
forever.
pretty. It's like live action. So, but it's too. I agreed with what you guys said on your podcast too. I was like, it is so fast, and so we went back and watched it, and I was like, "Wait, it's over."
Yeah,
and I think
there's not even really a title sequence.
And the cut,
then it goes type over scene very quickly into the party.
And the way that they cut, it's clearly was an intentional like starkness. The way it just like oh wait, it almost was like a horror movie does that.
Yeah,
like where you go from this like flashy thing to like a deadpan silence, and then like you're in like some sort of like lighthearted scene that tells you something's off.
Yeah.
And that this scene can't be this perfect.
Right.
Yeah. That was so I like it from an editorial standpoint, the way it cuts, but the sequence on the whole, I feel very lucky that we've been able to do ones that are much more of a show, much more of like a concept that is a little longer in duration too. It's kind of cool.
I think we looked to the television show in Rogue Nation. That was pretty much, and then
pretty much, yeah.
Weren't there some other old movies that you looked at?
Yeah,
so you should talk about that.
Yeah, there were. I mean, we always look at some of your
favorites,
Pablo Ferro, like Thomas Crown Affair stuff,
right?
Because like there was like some barn door editorial techniques in the curtain call where like actually parts of the compositions just disappear to black, and it's sort of old. It's sort of old looking, like in the way that Pablo Ferro used to do like he used to create separate windows for footage. So we liked the idea of it not just being the graphic fuse winding through the frame, but actually like cutting between.
Had like a choreography and a dance.
Yeah,
Right.
there was like a little bit of a playfulness because Tom was running across the airfield.
Right.
Oh yeah, I love
And it was
that.
like, and it goes
Yeah.
black.
It is
goes
very Thomas
black.
Crown Affair.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
So
that's
that
cool.
those are like some other influences
Yeah.
while we're doing it, for sure.
But
North by Northwest is
yeah.
a big influence for me, just as a designer in general, because Saul Bass killed the title sequence. But also, I love. Again, I told you I thought about North by Northwest on Rogue Nation, just with some of his set pieces and the things that he was doing.
Well, they dressed him just like him in the opening
Exactly.
sequence.
And so that actually made me want to be like, wait, what can we do
Right.
like that, sort of, but new? You know, make it
Yeah.
new and make it feel like we understand history. We understand where we're coming from with not just mission, but with design, with graphic design, and with filmmaking.
So that was our first part with the Filmograph guys.
Yes.
We love them. We wish we could have stayed in their office all day just talking about movies and Mission
Yeah.
Impossible.
We'll be back next week.
We'll be back
Part
with
two.
Part 2. But
And in 2 weeks, we got Brad Bird.
yeah, so what do you think about that?
I think it's pretty great.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. I think people are going to love it.
Yes.
He has... I joked that it was the commentary track he never recorded because it was
Yes.
so long.
It
Yeah.
is like that.
It is. It really
He
is.
talks. Yeah. I mean, you kept trying to go.
Yeah.
It was like we felt like we were taking up his time too
Yes.
much, and then he would be like, "No, I got more to talk about."
Yeah.
He would stop us
It was
whenever we were trying to
wonderful.
wrap it up.
Yeah. This is a guy who was just nominated for his 3rd Oscar. And
He's won twice, right?
He's won twice, and he was
For
just...
which ones? Incredibles. and
Incredibles, Ratatouille. Yeah. So he was just amazingly generous and thoughtful, and we're excited to be there. But also, if you're just coming to the podcast, we suggest go back and listen to old episodes. And not only the great Christopher McQuarrie interview and all of our great interviews, but the making of episodes, the unmade missions episodes, our rundown of each movie, the old TV shows. Just do it all. Go back.
Yes.
Go through the archives. And like, subscribe, and email us and follow us on social media at Light the Fuse. And we'll be back next week for part 2 of the Filmograph.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. And before we go, another mission, should you choose to accept it. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. And remember that you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LightTheFusePod, and email us questions or comments at lightthefusepodcasts@gmail.com. If you'd like to watch the original Mission Impossible television show, all 7 seasons are currently available to stream on Amazon Prime. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.